Uh, my PowerPoint presentation is visible from your side. Please tell me. PowerPoint presentation is visible from your side.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in our last class, where we stopped to discuss about the key, uh, that is super key, candidate key, primary key, foreign key of entity sets. Okay. Basically, we discuss about ER data model, or more specifically ER diagram, uh, entity relationship diagram. Just a minute. Uh, what is a super key? This is the key for entity set. You already know the entity set is the object that can be specified by the number of attributes. So how, by using the super key, that is the super key of an entity set is the set of one or more attribute whose values uniquely identify each of the entity in the entity set. Suppose the customer entity, what are the different okay, you can see here, what are the different attribute of the customer entity? You can see customer ID, customer name, I mean customer street, customer city, maybe phone number, and so on. So here, uh, say for simplicity, I can write cast in place of customer. Cast ID, that means customer ID. Customer ID and customer name. These two.
Sir, one doubt, sir. Sir, one quick doubt, sir. Actually, sir, you only sent us the first set of slides, sir. When will you send us the entity set and the entity diagram, those slides, sir?
Okay, just after complete this chapter, or maybe before that, I can send it. Okay. So customer ID and customer name, these two attribute, uh, the value of these two attribute can uniquely identify a particular customer, or maybe customer ID and say customer city. Combination of these two attribute also identify the particular entity, which entity, customer entity, or a particular customer from the customer entity set, or maybe say customer ID, customer name, and customer city. In together of these three attributes also uniquely identify or determine the each of the entity in the customer entity set. Okay. Now this is uh, so these are any number of super keys are there. Now there is a another important term is the candidate key. What is the candidate key? Candidate key is the minimum number of attributes which can identify uniquely identify the each of the entity in the entity set, which means the candidate key is a minimal form of super key, that is minimum number of or minimum attributes in a super key, minimal super key. For example, customer ID is the candidate key of the customer entity set. You can see here in all the super key, just a minute, in all the super key, customer ID is present. You can see here in this example, we can show the three super key. Not only the three super key, there may be possible other super keys are there. Okay, maybe the customer ID, customer name, customer city, and customer phone number. Okay, uh, or maybe customer ID with customer phone number. This is also a super key. But here altogether you can see the customer ID is the common. So which is the minimal form of the super key? Here customer ID. For that, customer ID is the candidate key of the customer entity set. Similarly, account number is the candidate key of the account entity set. Okay, and in the account entity set, the combination of account number itself a super key, account number and balance in together of this attribute, that is the account number and balance in together, this attribute is also a super key. Okay, and from that, account number is the minimal form, so account number is the candidate key for the account entity set. Now there may be possible several candidate key may exist in a particular entity set. Okay, in such a situation, one of the candidate key is chosen by the database designer or maybe the database administrator, and which is called a primary key. That is, the primary key is the one of the candidate key that is finally chosen by the database designer or database administrator to uniquely identify or uniquely determine the each of the entity in the entity set. Okay, if there is only one candidate key, then that candidate key is the primary key. If more than one candidate key is present for a particular entity set, then one of them can be chosen by the database administrator that can serve as a primary key to uniquely identify or to uniquely determine the entity in the entity set. Is it clear, or up to that any question? Is there any question? Now next one is the foreign key. What is the
So
foreign
one
key?
question, sir.
Please pardon me.
Sir, could you, sir, I didn't understand what is the difference between super key and a primary key, sir.
Super key, what I told, super key is a set of one or more attribute. That means primary key is the candidate key. Is it clear, na? Primary key is one of the candidate key. One of the candidate key is chosen as a primary key. Okay, to identify the each of the entity from the entity set. And candidate key is the minimal form of the super key. That is minimum number of attribute in the super key. Okay, which can uniquely identify the entity, say customer entity or a particular customer from the set of customer, that is the customer entity set. Here also the cast ID is the one of the cast ID is one of the super key. Okay, cast ID is the one of the super key. Cast ID combination of customer name is the super key. Cast ID customer city is the super key. This is also another super key. Customer, the combination of attribute customer ID along with the customer name, that is say customer ID is the 123, customer name is the Vijay Chaudhary, and customer city is say Durgapur. Okay, the combination of these three attribute value uniquely determine the customer Vijay Chaudhary from the customer entity set. Is it clear? And these three can uniquely identify. Similarly, only the customer ID is sufficient to uniquely determine the entity Vijay Chaudhary from the entity set customer. Okay, this is the super key. That means super key is the superset of the candidate key. Among the super key, the minimal form of the super key, which one is the minimal form of the super key here? Customer ID. This minimal form is chosen as a candidate key. There may be possible.
So super key is all the possible candidate keys for
not only all the possible candidate keys, super form of superset of candidate key. You can see here the candidate key. Customer ID is the customer ID is the candidate key. Is it na? Customer ID is the candidate key for the customer entity set. So combination of customer ID and customer name. This is the key. What? Superset. Is it the superset of the customer ID? Na? Similarly, this is the superset of the customer ID. This is the altogether superset of the customer ID. The superset of the candidate key is the super key. Super key is the set of attributes which can uniquely determine each of the entity. Candidate key is the minimum number of attributes. Among the super key, key from the entity set is known as the candidate key. There may be possible for a particular entity set only one candidate key is there, or maybe more than one candidate key is possible. If one candidate key, which one is called as a primary key? If more than one candidate key is there, then at that time one of them can choose as a primary key by the database designer. Sorry. For example, suppose in the say this, you can see this customer entity set. Here in this customer entity set, if you assume there is a no same name customer is present, that is duplicate name is not there, that is in the customer entity set there is a no customer having the same name with the other customer. So at that time customer name also serve as a candidate key, and as well as the customer ID also serve as a, I mean, one of the candidate key of the customer entity set. If we assume there is a no such customer is present with the same name, okay, at that time what happens? The customer name attribute is sufficient to uniquely determine one of the customer from the customer entity set. Similarly, customer ID is attribute is uniquely determine is sufficient to uniquely determine the one of the customer or customer entity from the customer entity set. Is it clear? So during that time, customer name and as well as the customer ID is the candidate key. So among them, customer ID or customer name, one of can be chosen by the database administrator that can serve as a primary key. Though both of them is the minimal form of the super key, because it is a single minimum form. But in this example, if we consider the customer name, same customer may be possible in a customer list, then customer ID is the unique. So only one candidate key in this example, customer ID is the candidate key, and as well as the customer ID is the, here customer ID is the primary key also. Is it clear? That is the super key is the superset of the candidate key or primary key. Primary key and candidate key is present in the super key. Okay, in the set of super key. The minimal form of the super key, that is the minimum number of attributes which can uniquely determine the one of the entity from the entity set, is known as the candidate key. Okay, is it clear?
So
Now next one is the foreign key. Foreign key of a particular entity set is the set of one or more attribute that uniquely identify the entities of the one of the entity set as well as the entities of the another set. But this can basically, you can remember this one, that this can serve as a primary key of the one of the entity set, and it can be a simple member or simple one of the attribute of the other entity set. That is, foreign key is defined in the second entity set, but it refers to the, or it can act as a primary key of the first entity set. Okay, that is the same attribute is present in the two entity set. That attribute serve as a primary key of the one of the entity sets, say first entity set, and this can, we can call the same attribute is the foreign key of the second entity set. Okay, we can discuss when you talk, this example later also. That is, foreign key basically act as a reference. Now next is the what is the super key and primary key of the relationship set. The whatever actually I told, that is the for the entity set. Now in the relationship set, the combination of the primary key of the participating entity set. Here, in this example, you can see, in this example, what happens? Which one is the relationship set? Borrower. That is, borrower is the relationship set.
Sir, are you
What are,
writing something, sir? It's not visible, sir. That's why.
which one is not visible?
So, are you writing something on the screen, sir?
Now I am just writing means actually I can just mark. Uh,
So we can't see any marks, sir. That's the thing, sir.
okay. Just a minute. This slide is visible here. One of the ER diagram is present. It is visible in the bottom of that slide.
No, sir.
Now I am not writing anything, but in the slide actually what you can see, what you see.
Sir, it's the key slide, sir, where super key, candidate key, foreign key, these are defined, sir.
No, which slide actually you can it visible at that moment. Now
Sir,
what is the
slide
heading
number
of that
20.
slide?
Sir, keys.
Keys is visible.
Yes, sir. Slide number 26.
No problem here. Whether is at that moment is visible participation of entity set in the relationship set, total participation, partial
No,
participation.
sir. No, sir. That is not visible, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I think you need to stop presenting and present again, sir. Yes, sir. Now the marks are visible, sir. But we didn't see any of this, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
Now it's visible.
Yes, sir.
One of the ER diagram in the bottom of that slide.
Yes, sir. The customer borrower loan, sir.
Yeah. So here actually the borrower is the relationship set. This relationship set, what are the participating entity set here? The participating, just a minute, I can. What are the participating entity set here? Participating entity set is the customer. I can just mark in a circular way the entity set customer. And another one is the loan. That is in borrower relation. This borrower relation, the participating entity sets are customer and loan. So how the super key of the borrower relation actually form? Now I change the slide. At that moment, key for relationship set is visible slide. Which slide have you seen?
So participation of entities set in a relationship set, sir.
Relationship set. Now, why we go for that example? Because what is the relationship set and what are the participating entity set? To remember you. Because the combination of the primary key of the participating entity set form the super key of a relationship set. So in the borrower relationship set, what is the participating entity set? Customer and what you see?
Loan.
Suppose the relationship set is the borrower relationship set. Here participating entity sets are customer and what? Loan. Is
Loan,
it
sir.
now?
Yes, sir.
So super key of this relationship set are primary key of the participating entity set. What are the primary key of the customer entity set? Customer ID, just discussed before.
The customer ID, sir.
Customer ID. And what are the another entity set? Participating entity set? Loan. So loan number is the primary key of the loan entity set. That is, this is the customer entity set primary key. This is the loan entity set primary key. Combination of these two is form the super key This is the super key of borrower relationship set. Is it okay? That is borrower relationship set. It associate the customer entity set and as well as the loan entity set. How we get the super key of the borrower relationship set? Primary key of the customer entity set and primary key of the loan entity set. What is the primary entity set? Primary key of the customer entity set? Customer ID. And what is the primary key of the loan entity set? Loan number. Is it? So combination of these two, customer ID and loan number, form the super key of the borrower relationship set. That means this combination of these two uniquely identify each of the relationship from the relationship set borrower. Is it clear? Another example, suppose the depositor. Here, what is the relationship set? The name of the relationship set is the depositor. The depositor relationship
One
set.
question, sir. So one question. So customer ID and loan number are the superset of the primary key uh, 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 of the borrower relationship set, sir.
It is a super key. And
Super
if
key.
this super key is the minimal form, we can come later. If in the borrower relationship set, there is a no descriptive or self attribute is there. If no attribute is present in the borrower relationship itself, then this act as a this combination, that is the customer ID and loan number, forms as a super key and as well as the super key and as well as the primary key and as well as the candidate key. Okay, so this one actually at that moment this one actually forms as the super key, candidate key and primary key because it is the minimal form if there is a no descriptive attribute present in the borrower relationship. Okay, what are the descriptive attribute? I already discussed in our previous class. In borrower relationship or maybe in the depositor relationship, if there is a date is the one of the attribute is present, date. I already discussed this one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this one, access date. If like as this is a descriptive attribute of this relationship, this is visible. Relationship set with attribute. Slide is visible.
No, sir.
The slide relationship set with attributes is visible.
No,
The
sir.
heading.
It's not. No, sir. It's not visible, sir.
The other student, please, what you seen? Any other students, what you have seen, please?
So slide number 25, participation of entity set.
23
25.
or 25. Oh, I think network problem. Okay. Now is it visible? 27 slide number.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think there is a network problem or some. Okay, I just stop my presenting and share my screen again. The slide number 27 is visible from your side.
Yes, sir. Now keys for relationship sets are visible, sir.
Okay. So here you can see the depositor is the relationship set. Okay. In the depositor relationship set associate with the two entity set. What are the name of that entity set? Please tell me. Customer and what? Customer and account, is it na? Customer entity set and account entity set.
Yes, sir.
So in customer entity set, customer ID is the primary key, and here account number is the primary key. So in the depositor relationship, what is the super key of the depositor relationship? Super key is the customer ID, comma, account number. Account number. Okay. This combination of this one is the super key of what? Depositor relationship. Depositor relationship. Is it okay? Customer ID and account number is the super key of the depositor relationship set. Okay. Now there is no other super key is there. So this one act as a primary key and as well as the candidate key. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now question is actually, if suppose the depositor, if depositor contain a one of the descriptive attribute, say date, access date, when the account is access, the access date is the one of the descriptive attribute of the depositor relationship set. So at that time, what is the super key? So in that case, super key of depositor relationship set is customer ID, account number, and access date. Okay, combination of this also a super key. That is one thing, just a minute. That is, this is a one of the super key, and this is also another super key. Customer ID combination with the account number is the super key, and as well as the customer ID, account number, and access date is the super key. Okay, and not only this one, it also depends on the mapping cardinality. That one actually I
Sir,
can
can it have multiple super keys, sir?
and super keys may be multiple. Whatever actually I told in previous case. Here in case of entity set, super key is the superset, na? Super key is the superset of the candidate key or primary key.
Yes, sir.
So
So then
here,
how come, so if it's the superset, sir, then it should be one, right, sir? Because how could it be customer ID, account number and access date, or customer ID and or customer ID and loan number, just that?
in case of depositor, if we consider the depositor, then customer ID and account number is the one of the super key. Customer ID, account number, and access date is also another super key. Okay, if access date is there, if this access date is there, if this descriptive attribute is not there, then customer ID and account number is the super key. Okay, whatever actually I write this one. And also one of the important point, that is actually just a minute. Just 1 minute. That is, if depositor relationship has no descriptive attribute, whatever actually I told, the access date is not there, and it is a many to many, that is cardinality is also important in that case. If there is a no, descriptive attribute access date like, so at that time the primary key is the customer ID and account number, whatever actually I told. If descriptive attribute is there, then it depends on the, and you can see here, if the relationship is many to one, in previous case many to many means, many to many means customer ID and account number, combination of this is the super key and as well as the primary key in that case. But if the relationship depositor is many to one, you can see this side is the many and this side is the one, arrow is there. What is the cardinality? I already discussed in our last class. That means multiple customer can have a single account. That is the joint customer is possible. That is particular account can hold by a multiple customer. But one customer can have at most one account only. That is a many to one. So in case of many to one, which one, what is the primary key in that case? Then primary key is the customer ID. That is the many side. What is the many side? In the many side, the customer is the entity set. In that case, customer is the entity set. So in that case, primary key of the customer entity set. What is the primary key of the customer entity set? Customer ID. Customer ID serve as a primary key of the depositor relationship set. You understand my point? That is,
Sir, I didn't understand the last part, sir.
last part.
The primary
That
key
is
part, sir.
primary key. When we choose the primary key, that depends on the mapping cardinality. That is, relationship set is a many to many, many to one, or one to one. If it is a many to many, that is in previous example, here it is a many to many. Customer side is many and as well as the, oh sorry, this side is also many. Account side is also many. So in that case, the customer ID and account number, combination of this is the primary key. But here it is a many to one. The relationship is the many to one. So in that case, primary key of the relationship set depositor is the primary key of the entity set. Which entity set? Primary key of the which entity set? That belongs to the many side. In many side, which entity set belongs? Customer entity set. My writing is visible from your side. I am writing something is visible, na?
Sir,
Just
not very visible, sir. It would be better if it was full screen, sir. If you were presenting and full screen, sir. But I don't think it's possible, sir.
no, I am presenting in a full screen, and I am writing means I am
Sir, I
point out
meant
on the.
slideshow, sir. Sir, I meant slideshow, sir. But I don't think it's possible, sir. In that case.
No, it is a slideshow. Whatever actually I can do it right now. Actually, it is a slideshow.
Okay, sir.
Now here actually you can see the. I can just circle out the customer. That is basically the which one is the primary key. That depends on the super key is the combination of customer ID and account number. Now, which one is the primary key of the depositor? That depends on the, to decide that it needs to consult the mapping cardinality. That is, mapping cardinality of the depositor is many to many. If it is a many to many, at that time, primary key is the combination of customer ID and account number. But if it is a many to one, this example in this slide, I think you see the slide number 28. Is it na? Slide number 28.
Yes, sir.
So it is a many to one. The depositor relationship set is many to one. Which side is many? Customer side is the many. Customer entity side is the many, and account entity set is the one. That is many to one. So at that moment, what is the primary key of the depositor? Primary key of the depositor is the primary key of the entity set belongs to the many side. Which one belongs to the many side? Customer entity set. What is the primary key of the customer entity set? This is the customer ID is the
Customer
primary
ID,
key
sir.
of the customer entity set. So it can serve as a primary key of the depositor relationship set also. So in that case, depositor relationship set, which one is the primary key? Customer ID. Okay. If the relationship set is a descriptive, some descriptive attribute is there, whatever actually I told, access date or something, then need to be considered the mapping cardinality and as well as the semantics of the relationship set. That is some complexity will be raised. Okay. And another thing actually, if this is a one-to-one relationship set, it is not shown here. If the depositor relationship set is a one-to-one, not many-to-many, at that time, primary key of any one of the entity sets serve as a primary key of any one of the entity sets serve as a primary key of the relationship set. If there is a no descriptive attribute is there. You got my point? That is there are three possibilities are there. You can just change the color, suppose. What are the possibility? The first possibility is the if the relationship is many to many. Many to many. If many to many, then what is the primary key of the depositor? Combination of primary key of the both the entity set. That is customer ID and account number. Okay. Is it clear? In that case, which one is the primary key? Customer ID, comma, account number. If the relationship set is a many to one or maybe the one to many, so which one is the primary key? In that case, primary key of the relationship set is the primary key of the entity set belongs in a many side. For example, in the many side, in this example, customer is belong. So here customer is belong. So here customer ID serve as a primary key of the depositor relationship set, which is also customer ID is also a primary key of the customer entity set. If it is a relationship set is a one to one or mapping cardinality is the one to one, at that time which one is the primary key? Primary
Anyone.
key is the any one of them. Okay. So now we go for the ER diagram with a ternary relationship set. That is the relationship set associate the three entity set. In this example, employee, branch, and job. Employee, branch, and job. Suppose in the banking database system, here the employee of a particular branch may serve the job. That is employee can serve this. What is the meaning? Employee can serve any branch, any number of branch, and as well as they can perform the job in one or more than one branch. That is perform a multiple job, because these are actually in this case many to many to many. All are actually many. There is no arrow keys there. Okay. But if this is not a many to all are actually many to many, then what will be the meaning? Suppose this is not a many to many. Say you think like say there is one of the arrow keys there. That is what is the meaning of the cardinality? Many to many this side, employee to branch, and to the job side is a one. Now work on relationship. The work on relationship set. Work on relationship set is a ternary relationship set. Associate, employee, branch, and job. What is the meaning of that? A particular employee can work in any branch, but in a particular branch, he or she can work only single job. You understand? This is a one means. What is the meaning or intuition behind this ER diagram? One of the employee in the employee entity set may work in any number of branch, but in a particular branch he can perform on a single responsibility or single job. Job means actually this is the basically responsibility. Okay, if it is a cardinality is 1 in that site. Okay, is there any question?
No, sir.
Now if whatever actually I told that is written here, if there is more than one arrow key, in this case, in this example, one arrow key is there, that is in the job site. Okay, if this not a the arrow key is present in the branch side also, that is if there is a more than one arrow key, that is for example suppose suppose R is the one of the relationship set. Okay, this can relate the entity set A, say entity set B. Okay, I am not, for simplicity purpose I am not write any attribute name. Okay, C, that is relationship set R. Is it visible? Relationship set R relate the three entity set A, B and C. Okay, now if suppose this side is the one of the arrow key is there and this side also one of the arrow key is there, what is the meaning of that? The entity set and relationship set R is this side is many, this side is 1 and this side is 1. That is the mapping cardinality from A to B is many to 1, A to C is many to 1 and B to C is 1 to 1. Is it okay? Is it visible now? Now in that case, this ternary relationship set, the meaning is the A entity set, we could mean that each entity set each entity A is associated with unique entity from B and C. Okay, because this side B and C side is 1, mapping cardinality is 1. Okay, or there may be possible we can mean such a way, each pair of A and B is associated with a unique C entity, or maybe each pair of A and C is associated with unique B entity. Now some of the relationships that appear non-binary, maybe we can convert in a
Sir, again your slides are not visible, sir. We are still on keys of relationship sets.
or in a keys of relationship
So that
sets.
AB part, sir, it's not visible at all, sir. We are still there on keys for relationship sets, sir. And sir, we have a class now also.
Just a minute. You have a class is there.
Sir.
Achha, rather than Prajotat, the other students what actually told means there is any all of you can see the difficulties.
Yes, sir.
You are Kuldeep. Any other student please tell me?
Sir, now we can see binary versus non-binary, sir. But before we were not being
No,
able to
it's
see.
okay from Prajotat. I want to see from any other
Yes, sir. In
Obisek.
between, sir,
Obisek, are you present
slide.
here? Obisek.
Yes, sir, I'm present.
So you have faced also the difficulties in presentation slide
Yes, sir, sometimes.
sometime.
Sir,
And
recording will also clear na, sir.
recording.
recording quality sir वो तो clear ना मैं team से better है sir.
टीम से बेटर है.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can check it later. Okay, if possible. But this one actually, I can, because the last 2 semesters, I take a class different subjects in final year and as well as the 5th semester and 4th semester. But no such question raised regarding Google Meet. Okay, if possible, I can convert in a Microsoft Team. But Microsoft Team also, there is some other problems are there. Okay, thank you. Any question from your side?
No sir.
Sir, tomorrow's class, sir, when will we have it, sir? In the morning, right?
What your CR actually, Abhishek?
Yes sir. Yes sir. Everyone agrees.
But
sir.
you don't inform me. I told you now. You can inform. So okay, tomorrow morning I can continue my class. Okay, tomorrow at what time that class is there?
Sir, our classes, sir, we are free from 11 to